Hello everyone and welcome back to Mind the Gap. I'm Jen.
And I'm Casey. Great to have you with us again.
So, Casey, tell me honestly, have you ever started learning English with loads of excitement only to give up a few days later?
Oh, absolutely. I think I've lost count. I get really motivated at first, new notebooks, fresh apps, the whole thing, and then after a week, the energy just disappears.
You're not alone. That's the classic 3 days of fishing, 2 days of resting problem, isn't it? Motivation comes fast, but it also goes fast.
Yes, it's so frustrating. I sometimes feel like maybe I'm just not good at learning languages.
Well, here's the good news. It's not that you can't learn, the real issue is habits. In today's episode, we're going to break down what makes a strong learning habit, how to manage your time, how to build routines that actually last, and how to stop relying only on willpower.
That sounds brilliant. So, by the end of this chat, people will know how to make English part of their everyday life without feeling stressed out.
Exactly. And hopefully they'll realize English doesn't have to be a painful task. It can become as natural as making a cup of tea.
Now that I like the sound of. Shall we get started?
Let's dive in.
Jan, can I be really honest? I often start with loads of energy when I'm learning English. I download new apps, I buy a fancy notebook, but after a few days, I just give up. What's wrong with me?
Nothing's wrong with you, Casey. In fact, that's one of the most common problems. The truth is, you're relying on motivation. And motivation is a bit like fireworks. It's exciting, colourful, full of energy, but it doesn't last very long.
Oh, that's so true. I get this big burst of energy and then it's gone.
Exactly. Habits, on the other hand, are more like the sunrise. You don't need to force it to happen. It just comes every single day. That's why habits are so much more powerful than motivation.
So you're saying instead of chasing motivation, I should build habits?
That's right. Think of habits as the automatic part of learning. Once you have a habit, you don't waste energy asking yourself, shall I study today or not? You just do it, like brushing your teeth.
That does sound easier. But how do you actually build a habit?
Good question. The secret is really simple. Habits are made of two things, repetition and simplification. If you repeat an action often enough and you make it easy to do, it becomes automatic.
So repetition plus simplification equals habit?
Exactly. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone says, I'm going to learn 100 new words this week. They're full of motivation on Monday, they study like mad. By Wednesday, they're tired. By Friday, they've given up completely.
Yes, that sounds very familiar.
Now compare that to another person who decides, every day, I'll just listen to English for 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes. It feels easy. They do it while having breakfast or on the bus. After a year, they've built a mountain of vocabulary without even noticing.
Wow, that's such a huge difference. The first person burns out, but the second person keeps going.
Exactly. That's the power of habits. They don't rely on how you feel today. They just keep building little by little until suddenly you look back and realize, oh, I've actually made real progress.
But wait, doesn't it take a lot of willpower to keep repeating something every single day?
That's the interesting part. It actually takes less willpower. At the start, yes, you need a little push, but once it becomes a habit, you don't think about it anymore. Just like you don't use willpower to brush your teeth, you simply do it.
Ah, I see. So once it's a habit, it feels natural, not like a constant battle.
Exactly. And that's why, if you want to succeed in English, don't ask yourself, how can I stay motivated? Instead, ask, how can I make this a habit?
That actually makes me feel a lot better. Maybe I don't need to be this super disciplined person. I just need to build the right habits.
Spot on. And in the rest of this episode, we'll talk about how to design those habits, from finding the right time of day to fighting procrastination.
Jen, here's a question I've always wondered about. Should I study English in the morning or in the evening?
Ah, the classic dilemma, the early bird versus the night owl. People often think there's one perfect answer, but actually it depends a lot on the individual.
So you mean it's not automatically better to wake up at 6 a.m. and study?
Exactly. Some people are at their sharpest first thing in the morning. Others only really wake up at night. What matters is not the clock, but your energy. The key is to find the time of day when your brain feels most awake, not just the time when you happen to be free.
That makes sense. Because sometimes I say, I'll study when I have some free time. But usually that means I end up doing it late at night when I'm already exhausted.
Yes, and that's a common mistake. Studying when you're half asleep is like pouring water into a leaky bucket. You're putting in the effort, but nothing stays.
That's exactly how I feel when I'm trying to memorize words at midnight. I read them again and again, but the next morning, gone.
Precisely. Imagine this. One learner listens to English for just 10 minutes in the morning while having breakfast. Another learner spends an hour at night trying to cram vocabulary, but they're tired, distracted, maybe even scrolling through their phone at the same time. Who do you think will learn more in the long run?
Probably the morning person, because their brain is actually awake.
Spot on. Quality beats quantity. 10 minutes at the right time is far more effective than 60 minutes at the wrong time.
But what if someone genuinely isn't a morning person? I mean, some people just can't function before their coffee.
And that's absolutely fine. The idea isn't to force yourself to be a morning person. It's about observation. Pay attention to when you feel most focused during the day. Maybe for you it's 11 in the morning, maybe it's after dinner. The trick is to notice those windows of high energy and use them.
So it's about being honest with yourself instead of following what other people say is the best time.
Exactly. I once had a student who was convinced she had no time at all. She worked long hours, she had a family. But then we looked at her routine more carefully and we discovered she spent 40 minutes on the train every day. She decided to turn that commute into her golden learning time.
That's clever. So what did she do? Listen to podcasts?
Yes. She chose one English podcast she liked and listened every morning on the train. At first, she felt it was just filling the time. But after a few months, she realized her listening skills had improved massively simply because she was consistent.
That's inspiring, and it shows that the perfect time doesn't have to be quiet or in a study room. It can be on the bus or while walking.
Exactly. The important thing is that your mind is alert enough to absorb what you're hearing or reading. If you wait for the perfect empty hour to magically appear, you'll wait forever.
So instead of waiting for free time, we should choose a time when we're naturally more awake and make it our routine.
Yes, and once that becomes a habit, it doesn't feel like effort anymore. It's just part of your day, like brushing your teeth or having a cup of tea.
That really changes how I think about study time. I used to believe I needed hours in the evening, but actually, 10 good minutes might be better than 60 bad ones.
Exactly right. And in a moment, we'll look at another important principle, why keeping things small and steady is often more powerful than going big all at once.
Jen, I've got to ask this. People always say, even 5 minutes a day can help. But honestly, does that really work? I mean, can 5 minutes of English actually make a difference?
That's a brilliant question, Casey, because it's what many learners secretly think. 5 minutes sounds so small, doesn't it? But here's the thing. The power of small, consistent habits is far greater than most people realize.
Go on, I'm listening.
Right, let me explain. There's this idea called tiny habits. It means you start with the smallest possible action. Something so easy, you can't really say no to it.
Like what?
Well, imagine this. Instead of saying, I'll study English for 2 hours every evening, you decide, I'll listen to one single BBC sentence every day. Just one sentence. You can do it while brushing your teeth or waiting for the kettle to boil.
That does sound ridiculously easy.
Exactly. And that's the point. When it feels easy, you're far more likely to stick with it. And what happens is, one sentence naturally becomes 2, then 3, and before you know it, you're listening for 10 minutes.
So it's like sneaking past your own excuses. You tell yourself, it's just one sentence, and then suddenly you've done more.
Spot on. And because you repeat it every day, your brain gets used to it. It becomes part of your rhythm. The key isn't how much you do in one day, it's whether you come back the next day and the day after that.
I see. So a little bit every day builds a chain, and the chain gets stronger the longer you keep it.
That's a great way to put it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine two learners. One studies like crazy for a whole Saturday, 6 hours in the library, but then doesn't touch English for the next 2 weeks. The other listens to English for just 5 minutes every day. After a month, who do you think has really made more progress?
I guess the second one. Even though it sounds smaller, it's more regular.
Exactly. Language learning is more like watering a plant than filling a bucket. If you pour a whole bucket of water once and then forget about it for 2 weeks, the plant dies. But if you give it a little water every day, it grows strong and healthy.
I love that. So English is like a little plant. It needs steady care, not random floods.
Yes, that's it. And funnily enough, it's the same with British tea. Most people in the UK don't sit down once a week and drink 20 cups of tea in one go. They have it little and often. 1 cup in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, maybe another in the evening. It's part of daily life.
That's such a good comparison. And you're right, no one questions whether the tea is enough. They just do it, day after day.
Exactly. That's how learning English should be. Not this massive, painful task once in a while, but a small, steady ritual that simply becomes part of your day.
That really changes my perspective. I always thought I had to sit down for hours to see progress. But now I'm thinking, maybe 5 minutes every single day is actually more powerful. You've got it. The question isn't, how much can I do today? It's, what can I do again tomorrow?
Consistency beats intensity.
All right, I'm convinced. I'll start with tiny habits, even if it's just a sentence a day.
Perfect. And once that becomes natural, we can add more. Now, speaking of sticking with habits, a lot of people struggle with procrastination. They put off studying even when they know it's only a few minutes. So next, let's talk about how to create a sense of ritual to fight that delay.
All right, Jen, here's my confession. I'm always dragging my feet when it comes to studying. I tell myself I'll start in 5 minutes, then suddenly an hour is gone. What can I do about that?
Oh yes, the famous I'll start in 5 minutes trap. You're definitely not alone, Casey. Procrastination is something almost every learner struggles with. One of the best tricks I've found is creating a small ritual, something that tells your brain, now it's study time.
A ritual, like lighting candles or something?
Not quite that dramatic. I mean, something small and repeatable. For example, I know a student who always makes a cup of tea before she begins. She puts the kettle on, hears it boil, pours the tea, and that's her signal. The moment she sits down with that tea, her brain knows, right, English time.
Oh, I love that. It feels comforting as well, not stressful.
Exactly. Another example, some people play the same piece of background music every time they study. A bit of soft instrumental or even classic English radio. It's not about the music itself, but the association.
So it's like pressing a button in your brain. You do the ritual and your brain switches mode?
That's right. Athletes do it all the time. A runner might tie their shoes in a particular way, or a tennis player might bounce the ball 3 times before serving. It's not because the ritual itself matters, it's because it signals to their body, we're ready now.
That makes sense. So for learning English, my ritual could be really simple, like opening the same app every time or sitting at the same desk.
Perfect examples. It doesn't need to be fancy. Consistency is what makes it powerful. If you always start by opening that app or you always sit in your little study corner, your brain connects the dots. Same action, same result.
I suppose that's why I sometimes fail. I try to study anywhere and everywhere, so my brain never gets into the mood.
Exactly. Your environment plays a big role too. A clean, uncluttered space helps your mind focus. And here's a golden tip. Keep your phone out of reach.
Oh no, you've found me out. I always put my phone right next to me, just in case. And then 2 minutes later, I'm scrolling social media.
We've all been there. The trick is to set the stage before you begin. Put the phone in another room or switch to Do Not Disturb mode. Some learners even use headphones, not just for listening, but as a physical signal. Headphones on, world off, study on.
That's clever. So headphones can be like a little wall between me and distractions.
Exactly. Think of it like a warm-up before a match. You wouldn't expect a football player to run straight onto the pitch without stretching. In the same way, your ritual is your mental warm-up. It eases you into focus and reduces the resistance.
I really like that idea, because sometimes starting is the hardest part. Once I'm in, it's fine, but getting started feels like climbing a mountain.
Spot on. That's why rituals are so powerful. They shrink the mountain. They remove the decision-making. You don't argue with yourself anymore. You just follow the ritual, and before you know it, you're studying.
All right, I'm sold. From now on, I'm making tea my ritual. Kettle on, phone away, headphones in, and that's English time.
Brilliant. And once you've got that habit, the procrastination monster becomes much, much smaller. Now, of course, even with rituals, some learners still feel anxious, especially when they don't understand everything or when they make mistakes. So next, let's talk about how to avoid falling into the trap of perfectionism and learning anxiety.
Jen, I've got a serious question. If I listen to, say, a BBC podcast, and I only understand about 30%, does that mean I've failed?
Oh, absolutely not. And you'd be surprised how many learners think like that. They believe if they don't understand every single word, then the whole effort is pointless. But that's just not true.
So it's not failure if I don't understand everything?
Not at all. Think about it. The goal of building a habit is not perfection, it's continuity. What matters is that you keep going. Even if you only understand a third, your brain is still soaking up the rhythm, the sounds, the intonation.
I guess sometimes I feel anxious because I want to get it all right every time.
Yes, that's the trap of perfectionism. Many learners think, if I can't say it perfectly, I'd better not say anything at all, so they stay silent. Or, if I can't understand everything, I'll just give up. But in reality, making mistakes is how you learn.
That's so true. I remember once I didn't speak in class because I was worried my pronunciation wasn't good enough. In the end, I said nothing at all.
Exactly. And that's a shame, because silence teaches you nothing. It's far better to speak badly and learn than not to speak at all.
So the point is just to keep engaging with the language even if it's messy?
Precisely. Let me give you an example. Imagine watching an English TV drama. You don't need to understand every single line. You just need to catch the main idea, enjoy the story, and keep exposing yourself to the sounds. Over time, your brain will naturally pick up more and more.
That actually makes me feel a bit more relaxed because I usually panic if I miss something. I think, oh no, I'm behind, I'm not good enough.
I completely understand. But here's a helpful trick. Set a deliberately low standard. For example, tell yourself, today I'll just say one sentence in English. Or today I'll listen for 5 minutes. Once you hit that small target, everything else feels like a bonus.
So instead of chasing 100%, I should be happy with 20% or 30% as long as I keep doing it?
Exactly, because the secret isn't about one perfect day. It's about 100 imperfect days. That's what builds progress.
I like that. It reminds me of the gym. You don't go in and lift the heaviest weight on day one. You just keep moving, little by little.
Perfect comparison. Language learning is just like fitness. You don't need to train like an Olympic athlete every time. You just need to keep the muscles moving. Even a light workout done regularly makes you stronger.
That makes so much sense. Maybe I should think of English practice like exercise. Consistency matters more than perfection.
That's exactly the mindset. So next time you feel anxious because you don't understand everything, remind yourself, I don't need perfect. I just need practice.
All right, I'll try to remember that. One step at a time and no pressure to be flawless.
Spot on. And actually, that brings us to another key idea. Learning doesn't always have to happen at a desk. It can slip into your daily routine in small, relaxed ways. Let's talk about how to weave English naturally into everyday life.
Jen, I've got to be honest. I worry that if I only study in little bits, like a few minutes here and there, it might be too random. Does that really work, or am I just fooling myself?
That's such a common concern, Casey. A lot of learners think if it's not an hour at the desk with a textbook, then it doesn't count. But actually, language learning works beautifully in small, natural moments. It's what we call immersion, surrounding yourself with the language in daily life.
Immersion, like moving to the UK and living there.
Yes, that's the full version. But even if you're not living in London or Manchester, you can create little pockets of immersion in your day. Think of it as dipping into English many times instead of waiting for one big, serious session.
So, you're saying it's not wasted if it's broken up into small bits?
Exactly. Imagine you're washing the dishes, hands busy, mind free, perfect time to put on a podcast. 10 minutes every evening, and that's over an hour a week without even noticing.
That actually sounds doable.
Another example, walking. If you're out for a stroll or commuting on foot, you can practice shadowing, repeating English sentences you hear. It might look funny to passers-by, but it's a brilliant way to train your mouth and ears at the same time.
I can just picture myself mumbling in the park. People will think I'm talking to myself.
True, but hey, you'll be the one improving your English. And here's another. If you're on the train or the tube, just pick 3 new words to revise. 3 a day. By the end of the month, that's 90 new words.
Wow, when you put it like that, the numbers really add up.
Exactly. The magic isn't in doing a lot at once. It's in letting English pop up again and again. That repeated exposure is what makes the brain feel, English is part of my world.
So it's not about squeezing out huge study hours, but about making English a frequent guest in your daily life.
Perfectly said. Think of it like background music. If you hear a melody every day, in shops, in the car, on the radio, eventually you can hum it without trying. Language works the same way.
That's such a comforting thought. It makes learning feel lighter, not like this heavy burden I have to carry.
And that's exactly how it should feel. Now, before we wrap up, let's quickly recap the 6 key ideas we've talked about today.
Right. Number 1, habits beat motivation. Don't chase the fireworks, build the sunrise.
Lovely. Number 2, find your golden study time. Learn when you're most awake, not just when you're free.
Number 3, small and steady is better than big and random. 5 minutes every day beats 6 hours once a month.
Number 4, rituals fight procrastination. A cup of tea, a bit of music, or just headphones on. That's your study start button.
Number 5, avoid anxiety and perfectionism. You don't need to understand 100% or speak flawlessly, just keep practicing.
And finally, number 6, weave English into your life. Washing up, walking, commuting, it all counts.
That's such a powerful list. And honestly, it makes English feel less scary, more like a natural part of everyday life.
Exactly the point. And here's the big takeaway. You don't need willpower. You just need smartly designed habits. Start today with the tiniest change and let the rest grow naturally.
I love that. Just one small step today, and tomorrow will take care of itself.
Absolutely. Remember, English isn't a sprint. It's more like a gentle walk. And the more often you walk, the further you'll go.
Well, that's about it for today's episode.
Yes, we really hope you found these tips helpful, and more importantly, that you feel a bit more confident about building your own English habits.
Exactly. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent.
If you enjoyed today's chat, do give us a like and subscribe to Jen's English Hub.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends. The more learners who hear it, the better.
Absolutely. And if there's a topic you'd love us to talk about, just drop it in the comments. We'd really love to hear from you.
Right, thank you so much for joining us.
And we'll see you next time. Bye!
Take care, everyone.